right, good morning. I'm Elizabeth Gunn, the chair of the Task Force on Power-Based Violence. Welcome to our quarterly meeting. We'll begin with the roll call. Please indicate your presence when you hear your name. Ms. Melissa Barnard.
Here.
Dr. Kavita Batra. Ms. Luisa Bautista.
Present.
Dr. Sarah Chamanara. Dr. Stephanie Coleman.
Present.
Mr. Jordan Fichette.
Present.
Ms. Erin Frock.
Present.
Dr. Tabor Griswold. Elizabeth Gunn present. Ms. Christina Hall. Ms. Isabel.
Christina Hall here.
Wonderful, thank you. Ms. Isabel Hatch.
Present.
Ms. Tara Margerison.
She has stepped down from her position as a campus victim advocate.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Matt McNair.
This is Daniel Archer, Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs and Mass Higher Education. Chancellor McNair is absent today, and I'm serving as vice.
Thank you. Mr. Jose Melendrez.
Here virtually, thank you.
Ms. Michelle Sposito.
Present.
And Ms. Lindsay Walterbeek. All right, we have a quorum today. Thank you all for those who are in attendance. This time we'll turn to agenda item 1, which is public comment. Public comment will be taken during this agenda item. No action may be taken on a matter raised under this item until the matter is included on agenda item on which action may be taken. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Persons making comments will be asked to begin by stating their names for the record and to spell their last names. The task force chair may elect to allow additional public comment on a specific agenda item when that agenda item is being considered. In accordance with Attorney General File number 00047, as restated in Open Meeting Law Manual, the task force chair may prohibit comment if content of that comment is a topic not relevant to or within the authority of the Board of Regents, or if the content is willfully disruptive of the meeting by being irrelevant, repetitious, slanderous, offensive, inflammatory, irrational, or amounting to personal attacks or interfering with the rights of other speakers. With that, I do not see any public comment here in person in Las Vegas. Is there public comment in person in Reno?
None in Reno.
Are there any callers?
None at this time.
All right, thank you. With no public comment today here in person or on the phone, we'll move to item number 2, Chair's Report. I'm pleased to provide a few updates since we last met. First and foremost, I'd like to thank a few members whose terms, first or second terms, so to speak, are coming to a time of transition. I'll start with those who have been serving for 4 years under the previous legislation, which was SB 347, and for the first 2 years under the current legislation, which is AB 245. Those folks have been doing this important work with their volunteer time and attention and expertise for a really long time, and have lent stability and consistency to the task force and its 2 iterations. So thank you to Erin Frock, Kavita Batra, Christine Hall, Tabor Griswold, Michelle Sposito, and Linda King. Thank you all, depending on their interest and preference in continuing and the board's response to that, look forward to working with you, continue to work with you in this capacity. There are those two who are coming to an end of their first two-year term under AB 245, Dr. Stephanie Coleman and Ms. Christina Hall. And again, want to thank you for your 2 years of dedication to this important work. The board, for those who've indicated interest in continuing on, the board will hear that at their next quarterly meeting. Wanted to pause as well and say a tremendous thank you to Ms. Linda King for her steadfast dedication and collaboration on this work for the last 4 years. She's been a tremendous professional partner and strategist and doing the work as a member and doing the work of this task force. And so thank you to her as she transitions off the task force. Similarly, I would like to welcome replacing Ms. King is Ms. Melissa Barnard, who's in Reno today. Thank you for your joining and representing that seat, and we look forward to the collaboration with you as well. In addition to thanking our members, I would also like to thank our colleagues who make these meetings possible in both Reno and Las Vegas. So thank you all in the offices as always for ensuring we have the space and resources to make these meetings happen. Moving along, there was a change in our meeting time from May to April. You probably saw that come through on your calendars. The point of the change of the meeting time was to ensure that we can do the work of the survey in alignment with the Board of Regents' upcoming meeting schedules, so that if we choose to vote and recommend something, that can be requested to be on the Board of Regents meeting in a timely fashion. So we needed to adjust the May meeting to April by a little bit. Two more items by way of updates. Between meetings, I continued to confer with Vice Chancellor Davis and counsel at the NSHE offices, also with UNLV's Center for Research, Evaluation, and Assessment. And our colleague, Dr. Grifford, is here today, so we appreciate you being here and appreciate their office's collaboration in continuing the work of our survey. And additionally, just continuing to confer with the Chancellor's office on matters related to the work of the task force. So with that, that concludes my report. So we'll move to agenda item 3, which is minutes. The task force will consider approval of the minutes from the September 16th, 2025 meeting. The reference material is linked in your agenda. With that, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved, Jose.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Christina Hall, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Okay. Approval of the minutes carries. And so moving on to agenda item 4, which is the 2025 survey timeline. If the task force members will recall, we've discussed the timeline in the last couple of meetings. And in reference to previous comment just a moment ago, the spirit of this agenda item and the timeline is to ensure that we're aligned with the Board of Regents meetings so that we can request, if this body votes to approve a survey, that we can ask that this might be included on the appropriate Board of Regents agenda so that they can vote whether or not to approve our recommended survey and implement the survey. In your reference materials, you'll see a timeline there. I appreciate Vice Chancellor Davis's collaboration on this timeline to ensure that we're, again, aligning appropriately with the Chancellor's office and the Board of Regents. Currently in this current fall semester, as mentioned before, the UNLV Center for Research, Evaluation, and Assessment, the CREA office, conducts a literature-based review and comparative analysis of instruments used to conduct the previous 2023 survey. And they'll provide Dr. Griffith will provide an update today. That work is underway. In our spring meetings, they'll continue to redesign and pilot the climate surveys, and then again in February and April, they'll present the surveys to this task force for our edits and review and possible vote to recommend to the board. If all of that unfolds as plans in June, we would present the tool to the Board of Regents for their review and possible approval. And then fall 2026, CREA would distribute the survey to NSHE students. Then after the deadline for completing the survey, for students to complete the survey, the CREA would perform the analysis of survey responses, and then in spring, they would present their reports to us, to this board, this task force, and then in June, the task force would present the results and findings to the Board of Regents. I'll pause there and ask if there's any discussion, comments, questions about the timeline, how we're moving the work of the survey forward. All right, seeing no discussion. This is great. That means it's clear and we're sailing along smoothly. With that, I'll turn to agenda item number 5, survey planning updates. Colleagues from UNLV's CREA will, in collaboration with UNLV's academic effectiveness surveys and data, will provide an update on the work for the next survey. Included in the discussion will be a timeline for garnering, again, our inputs and edits. And again, Dr. Grifford from CREA is here, and thank you for being here in person today. And I turn the discussion item, the agenda item over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Gunn. For the record, Dr. Megan Grifford, I am the Associate Faculty Director for the Center for Research, Evaluation, and Assessment, also known as CREA, at UNLV. And we have the privilege of partnering with the task force to streamline and improve the next iteration of the survey, which will be for the academic year 2026-2027 distribution. So I wanted to provide some updates since the last time that we attended one of your meetings to let you know where we are in the process. As we had indicated in our scope of work to the task force, our intention is to provide you with a draft of the survey in early spring 2026. And so right now what our team has been working extensively on is looking at the previous surveys that have been distributed within the NSHE system and figuring out ways to improve response rates and also to streamline the survey. One of the things that we discussed last time is that we noticed the survey was a bit long and response rates were low. And so those are some of the things that we are targeting for improvement. So the first thing that I wanted to share is that our team in CREA has conducted a pretty extensive literature review looking at national norms and other states that have similar surveys distributed at their institutions of higher education. And we have identified a series of states that have exemplary surveys, and that's Illinois, Massachusetts, and New York. And some of the things that are discussed, the survey items that are asked on those surveys that are also currently present in the version of Nevada's power-based violence survey is climate and knowledge, victimization screeners, incident follow-ups, demographics and context, and then training and prevention. And so our psychometricians on our team have identified the areas where we could improve, including the areas of training and prevention. And then we are also looking at reducing what we call the burden of completing the survey. And so our current survey relative to these other states is quite long. There is very little branching in terms of how you answer the questions. And so our researchers have indicated that there's high survey fatigue risk because also in addition to the length of the survey, we know that there are a number of other surveys that are distributed to students at our institutions. And so our recommendations are to streamline some of the questions in the climate section, to condense and modularize the screeners, maintain behavioral specificity, but use skip logic to reduce the exposure for people who respond no to questions. And then also following what the American Association of Universities has come up with in terms of how to limit detailed follow-ups to the most serious incidents. We have also are recommending enhancing the trauma-informed design elements, such as content and trigger warnings embedded throughout the survey, as well as including resource links on every screen, which the State University System of New York does, and also the option to have a prefer not to answer for all victimization items. So those are just some high-level things that we're working on. I would like to commend our team for the in-depth analysis that they conducted and being able to identify the opportunities to improve our survey. And we look forward to sharing a draft of it with the task force in early 2026.
Elizabeth Gunn for the record. Thank you so much for the update. It sounds like you all are making excellent progress and in the consulting other states who have surveys of similar scope and purpose. You referenced AAU, American Association of Universities. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes. So we looked at the national norms for, Dr. Grifford for the record. So we looked at the national norms that have been set by the White House Task Force to Prevent Students from Sexual Assault, which took place in 2014. And then the Association of American Universities in 2015 created an instrument with a very clear skip logic and some deep follow-up questions that also looked at power-based violence.
Thank you. I might have a couple of other questions or comments. Thank you. It sounds like delighted to hear that things are moving along so effectively, so thank you. Comments, questions from members of the task force? Elizabeth Gunnigan, do you have a sense at this point the ideal length of the survey, removing if a survey taker does not follow skip logic for any reason, if they're continually engaged and it just doesn't route through any skipping of questions, about how many questions and the time frame? And it may be too early, I understand, to know that.
Megan Grifford for the record. At this time, we don't have an exact time length, but we will, prior to distributing it and sharing it with your task force, we will test it and time it extensively so that we can provide those metrics for you.
Elizabeth Gunn again, and in your the CREA's expertise, your expertise, one of the items that we've anticipated and discussed and thinking about this new survey, and also in 2023, were response rates and how to increase that. We understand that we've made an adjustment to the timeline based on when students are more likely to respond. Any other initial thoughts on increasing response rates and/or incentives that the institutions could do?
Yes, for the record, Megan Grifford. We have some ideas that we're happy to discuss with the task force. There's definitely opportunities to provide incentives for students for finishing. Improving the skip logic, I think, is something. And then we've also been talking a lot about just the messaging of the survey and how important it is to have this information on our campuses to improve the culture and climate and safety of the students on campus. And so I think that that's something that we would like to partner with the institutions on, is just making sure that the message about the critical nature of this survey is.
Thank you. Elizabeth Gunn for the record. Any questions, comments from our task force members? Ms.
Isabel Hatch for the record.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Just for context, I am Isabel Hatch. I'm the Nevada Student Alliance appointee to represent UNR and UNLV. I've been having some conversations lately with counseling services both at UNR and UNLV to try to figure out what the best way to really reach these students are, and to make sure that the language of the survey is really supporting response rates. The last thing we want to do is have students feel uncomfortable responding to the survey because of the language or because they simply don't identify with some of the verbiage that we use. There's been a lot of discussion on whether certain labels of power-based violence and specifics really identify with students and how likely they are to respond to surveys. So I just want to bring that to everyone's attention. Maybe because obviously it's very important to have the correct metrics and ensure that we're getting all of this data, but to make sure that we're kind of considering our verbiage when developing the survey to make sure that we're really reaching every student, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you, Megan Grifford, for the record. So a couple of things that I think might be relevant to the points that you bring up, which thank you for bringing those up, is what we found in the SUNY version, the State University of New York system version of their power-based violence survey is on every single screen. So as you're completing the survey and moving through the questions, every single screen contains links to resources like counseling resources and rape crisis centers and things like that. And so we think that that's probably a really good idea to include in our survey moving forward. And so that's our intention with that. And then secondly, what was missing from the previous iteration of the survey that we're going to have now is a prefer not to answer section option for every question, just because if a student does not feel comfortable talking about or addressing or responding to a certain type of question, we can give them the option to not answer it. And then also one of the things that I think will be really helpful is when we provide the task force with the survey, I would definitely, Ms. Hatch, encourage you to provide us with that feedback about how to make sure that the language that we're employing is culturally relevant and responsive to a student population, because you are absolutely the expert on that. And so we really appreciate your input on that, because what we're drawing from is all literature review and scientific view, and you're really our boots on the ground to understand how we can get students to engage in this survey in a way that's safe for them and comfortable for them, and also approachable and accessible.
Luisa Bautista for the record. So I know you mentioned about how making sure that the survey is comfortable and respectful and trauma-informed for all of its participants, but with the prefer not to say feature, would you say that there's the chance or the risk of losing valuable information with that answer option being there?
For the record, Megan Grifford, thank you so much for that question. Yes, I would agree that there is the possibility of students opting out of answering something that makes them feel uncomfortable, but I think the psychological safety and well-being takes precedence over survey results. And so personally, I'm okay with losing that data, especially since we're going to be including resources that students can reach out to on every single page of the survey. So a student who may not answer a question but still needs support in some way will be able to connect with that resource, which I think is ultimately the goal that we want.
Elizabeth Gunn, is there an ideal response rate or a general framing for either raw number response rate or average per institution kind of that you all use as a guidepost?
I will definitely confer with our psychometricians to give you an accurate answer. I think a goal is maybe about 15, 20%. We have our last mass distribution of a survey, we worked with the Las Vegas Review-Journal on their Judging the Judges, which is where we solicit all active bar members in the state of, or in Clark County on their experiences working with judges who are up for reelection. And I believe that the previous iteration of that survey, which had been done with another organization, had we more than doubled whatever, I'm sorry, this is, yes, we had more than doubled their response rate by just streamlining and improving the survey and also with our messaging. And so our hope is to be able to have similar results for you all.
Thank you. Other conversation, question, discussion from our task force members?
Yeah, Jose Melendres here from UNLV. I just want to say thank you for the inclusion and thinking about upfront regarding the cultural components, cultural identity, and cultural understanding of these things. So I just want to say thank you for building that in and thinking about that upfront. I think that's a critical part given the advanced huge diversity on our campuses and how we approach those groups. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Megan Griffith, for the record, thank you for that feedback. We really appreciate it, and we also hope that when we provide the task force with a draft of the survey, that if there are areas where we can strengthen our trauma-informed response and our culturally responsive wording, that you all will assist us with that.
Elizabeth Gunn, for the record. Thank you, Dr. Grifford, and again to your team for the update today and for the robust discussion. It sounds like we've got really important and effective work ahead of us, and so we look forward to continuing to engage with you in the next few task force meetings. Thank you for your valuable time today. Okay, moving on to agenda item 6, which is renewal of gap analysis work at the Task Force March 2024 and March 26, 2024 and June 27, 2024 meetings. Members presented information regarding services available on their campuses for victims of power-based violence and engaged in gaps analysis. So the spirit of this agenda item is to continue that conversation. I'll frame just to bring some of those previous conversations to the forefront. I'll frame that gaps analysis or our previous discussions, and I would look to you all to help answer a few questions that I have that hopefully can help guide us in this continued work. To help think about where the gaps analysis discussions originated, you'll recall we also spent some time in an analysis or review of the actual legislation that guides our work. And this is, of course, the legislation is NRS 396. This is specifically from section 1415. These are the major components that guide the task force's work. Review of a climate survey, which we just discussed. Examine current procedures and protocols for preventing, intervening, or responding to instances of power-based violence at institutions within the system. Identify possible gaps in services, examine correlations between social groups, campus life, and incidents of power-based violence, and then there's our reporting responsibilities to the board and to the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Education. So there's a couple of pieces of the legislation that speak to a gaps analysis. And if you'll recall, our colleagues from our institutions have presented to this task force twice, and we've subsequently engaged in discussion on the dates just referenced. I'll briefly go over some of the highlights of those discussions, and then I have a couple of guiding questions for this group. Starting with UNLV, these are the major components of the services that were presented to the task force. From the Care Center, Training Institute, Education and Advocacy, off-campus victim collaboration support. And again, this is by no means encompassing, these are very broad brushes of what was presented. From UNR, a UPD presented and spoke to the Office of Equal Opportunity in Title IX, referral services such as crisis intervention, therapy, legal and medical support, and Nevada Cares, which is services related to relationship violence, sexual assault, and/or stalking. Off campus, the connections mentioned or referenced were Domestic Violence Resource Center and Sexual Assault Support Services. Moving on to CSN, our colleagues from CSN reported or spoke about the Counseling and Advocacy Center, Title IX Office, Mental Health Services, and off-campus victim collaboration groups. At GBC, on-campus services, they keep in mind climate survey results, previous climate survey results, the behavior intervention team, Title IX, housing and residential advisors, and off-campus referrals to local organizations. From NSU, our colleague presented on resources regarding Title IX, employee training, the care team, counseling service, and emergency housing. Off-campus connections referenced were care center collaboration with UNLV and victim collaboration groups. From TMCC, the presentation referenced the Wizard Wellness 24/7 support line, telepsychiatry, Title IX, and counseling. And off-campus connections, an MOU with the Crisis Support Centers of Nevada, including a campus victim advocate, tabling, and awareness events. And finally, from WNC, on-campus services, a 24/7 wellness line, University Police Department services, and off-campus campus victim advocate program, providing free support and service to survivors of power-based violence, and partnership with Crisis Support Centers of Nevada. So just in hearing that information, you can see some threads with the services provided on campus and some of the collaborations, which are with some of the same entities off campus. And thinking about how to encourage us to continue this conversation, here are a couple of questions. In the past, when we've discussed this, one of the items that's come to the surface is thinking about how there could be a centralized place for students to go for resources. And that might still be something we want to think about. I think students usually would go to their campus, their home campus for resources. They may not think of an NSHE office as a place to go. They'll be familiar maybe with people in those offices or friends who know about those offices, who are faculty, mentors, advisors who know about the services within the institution. One of the things in thinking about a centralized website or presence as well is that we want to make sure for our students that the information is as current and accurate as possible, especially for someone seeking services in crisis or just generally who needs to know what services are available. So one of the questions for today to get us thinking again about this work is, what does an institution have that the other institutions might not have that are critical or important to this work? And how can we think about either using current resources or bridging resources across institutions or engaging with community partners where there are gaps? That's one question. The second question is, what kinds of services can students access at the care center, for example, or the external crisis centers? And what do they need? How could we engage with those centers across institutions or through a memoranda of understanding? And so I'll pause there. That's a lot of information all at once, but hopefully the spirit of that was to jog everyone's memory a little bit. And so thinking about what our institutions, the current services available, and where we might think of questions to frame our continued gap analysis. So I'll pause there and ask if there's thoughts, feedback, concerns, considerations, discussion.
Go ahead, Christina. I saw you pop up first.
That's okay. You already unmuted. You go ahead.
So Dr. Gunn, I guess my thoughts are, what, like say once the survey is completed and we're talking about the gap analysis and what's out there, what needs to be out there. What does it look like for this group in terms of like, okay, we've learned this and here's the information we need to get out on the campuses. What does that look like in terms of, educational programming around what we learn, and especially if if we need to put something that's there for students, something that's there for faculty and staff, what does that look like for us, or do we even do that? And I apologize if I missed that somewhere else, but just what does that look like once we have the results back from the survey? And, and I'm thinking along the lines of like, is there some kind of use of like campus advocates who would could be the place to deliver some of this to the student groups, or just something, just kind of thinking out loud?
Elizabeth Gunn for the record. I appreciate that insight and foresight, thinking about survey results and the analysis and what we might recommend. I think in terms of logistics, this is a recommending body, so we recommend action for the board's consideration. And in terms of, so for example, with the survey, the chancellor and his office work with the university presidents to ensure that we're collaborating with the appropriate offices to distribute, or to collaborate with IT offices for survey distribution. Those are two channels. If there were specific recommendations, say we recommend this institution or that institution or all institutions enter into a joint MOU with this external entity who provides support, I would need to look back at the legislation to see the exact wording, and/or defer to Dr. Archer or counsel today, if anyone has that information more readily available. But in general, we're a recommending body, and the two avenues for recommending action are through the board and through the chancellor's office.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah, this is Daniel Archer, Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs at NSHE. So yes, I'll just kind of reiterate what you said. Yeah, I think it's the recommending body, but I'd have to go through the details. I did look at this probably 6 months ago, and I'm not quite remembering all the details, but we can certainly take a look at that and have that ready to go as an item or a follow-up at the next meeting.
Christina Hall for the record. I think there's a couple of different things we're looking at here. We're looking at advocacy and access to advocacy, and then also prevention, education, and awareness is kind of two individual things. For the prevention, education, and awareness of services, I do know that NSHE is looking at purchasing a contract through Vector Solutions to provide like online training NSHE-wide for a variety of topics. I believe our Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities is heading that up, Phil Burns, and is focusing on like hazing and things like that. But I know that same company has modules on sexual assault, dating violence, domestic violence, and stalking, and so all the power-based violence things as well. So maybe one of our recommendations could be to recommend to NSHE that all campuses incorporate that at a systemic level, so that folks have the opportunity to get a baseline knowledge about those topics. And then individual campuses could then expand on that depending on their capacity and resources maybe. And then another thought that I had is I'm the director of the care center here at UNLV, and one thing that I've noticed is that there seems to be kind of a variation across campuses NSHE-wide of the resources available for advocacy. So we're lucky at UNLV that we have a lot of institutional support and a dedicated department within student affairs for advocacy, and we're a whole department, and we're not just one person or anything like that. So maybe another recommendation could be to try and expand resources for advocacy at the different campuses. I'm happy to help support in that. We have a lot of experience in providing confidential advocacy, campus-based advocacy on campuses, and have provided that support for CSN and NSU in a virtual capacity, but not an in-person capacity. So that's another example of kind of differences between campuses, in that we can provide that support, but we're limited to only doing that virtually because we don't have a physical presence on those campuses. So anyway, I don't know if that's helpful. I think your other question was like what services are provided at each campus. So I'm happy to go into a little bit about what we do at the Care Center. I don't know if that would be a great use of the time for the meeting today, but feel free to ask any questions that you all might have of what we provide.
Thank you, Elizabeth Gunn, for the record. Thank you, Ms. Hall. Appreciate your insight and expertise on this item. What I heard sounds like a very, very important thread, which is, in addition to the absolute requirements for institutions to provide this legally or by policy, what additional consistent resources do we want all institutions to provide to students? And that, and your comments raise that question to the forefront for me. And so that's probably something that we want to consider as we continue this conversation. Once we've met the requirements, the essential nature of the work, what else needs to be consistent across institutions or through collaboration across institutions?
Isabel Hatch for the record. I did want to jump in here in figuring out which services are going to be most effective for students in particular. I mean, obviously, each campus is going to have largely different services offered, but figuring out which are best used at each individual campus, I think could be effective. Like at UNR, the Nevada Care Center is largely used and quite present, like at almost nearly every university event. So they have quite a large presence on campus, while students may feel a little bit intimidated by going to a more counseling services-based resource. So I think looking at, of the resources already offered, which are best used and most used would be really helpful. To jump off of Ms. Hall's comment on Vector, I've actually taken the power-based violence training to work in UNR student government. So I think that it would be quite effective, especially if it was offered more widely to students as well.
Elizabeth Gunn for the record. Thank you, Ms. Hatch, for your comments. I certainly appreciate your important perspective and the strategy of identifying which services are most used or what services students rate as effective at the institutions. Ms. Posito, it looks like you wanted to comment.
Yes, thank you, Michelle Sposito, for the record. I wanted to piggyback on the conversation regarding Vector Solutions. So NSHE does have currently a contract with Vector to provide the online training to both students and employees at UNLV. It's required in NSHE policy that students are offered the training within the first 6 months of their enrollment at each NSHE institution. One thing that I can speak from our perspective at UNLV, I am the Title IX coordinator, and so I'm the one that oversees the completion of this training. There's a pretty low completion rate with regard to students completing that training, and it's required in policy. However, there's no sort of, I don't know, penalty, or like there's if they don't complete it, there's not any sort of mechanism, right, that requires them to complete that training. So I think that would be helpful if the board could address that. There's not only requirement for students, but also for employees, and in both lines, there's no sort of like mechanism to enforce what happens if those individuals do not complete the training.
Thanks, Michelle, for that added context. This is Christina Hall for the record. And that's another reason why I said it could be a good baseline, because I think that there are other ways that campuses can reach out to students and staff and faculty to gain knowledge and skills around this issue for sure. So I don't think it's, I think it's great starting place. I don't think it's the end all be all. But if we could get it some incentive to complete it or penalty to not complete it, I think that would be helpful. And I know many institutions are hesitant to do that for a good reason. But yeah, it makes it a little bit challenging to get folks to make sure that they receive that information in a consistent manner.
And Michelle Spizio for the record again. I also think it's important that we recommend that the universities maybe use the same training. So Vector has a menu of trainings that are available. And there, even within that menu, there's a lot of trainings. I shouldn't say a lot, but there's multiple trainings that address power-based violence. And so, you know, I think different institutions may be using different trainings. And so perhaps we can recommend which of the Vector trainings should be used across the NSHE institutions. And then, like you said, Christina, getting feedback to figure out the best way to engage people to understand that this training is available and is required by NSHE policy.
Elizabeth Gunn for the record. Thank you all for that, that component of the discussion. Any other comments about the gaps analysis, where we might want to head, how we might frame this conversation for our continued work? Okay, one last question then for the task force. How valuable would it be, do you all think it would be to ask colleagues from the institutions to present one more time, or do we have the information that we need, or can we find that information and you know, through other avenues?
Michelle Esposito for the record. I don't have my thought fully formed, but I think it would be helpful for us to hear again what is available at the institutions. And I wonder if there's a way that we could ask the question, like, do you have these services available? Yes or no? And then is there anything on this list that we didn't ask you about that you also provide? And that way we can get some consistency in a response from the institutions. And that way we can better understand what the institutions have to offer and maybe where there's some gaps.
Christina Hall for the record, I second that. I think that would be really helpful. I'm envisioning a table where we can physically see gaps, right? Where this institution has this, but then not this, you know. I think that would be helpful versus like, I loved the presentations that we did a few months ago, but I think that would keep the data all in one place and make it easier to interpret.
Any other comments, thoughts about how to frame our continued conversation analysis
Dr. Hall.
around this?
This is Regent Ariscott up here at the systems office in Reno.
Good morning.
First and foremost, thank you. Good morning. I want to commend everybody for their involvement. Following up on the footsteps of Ms. Hall and Ms. Esposito, just looking at the websites of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, University of Nevada, Reno, Nevada State University, and all the campuses, there's not, it seems to have not enough overlap. And I apologize for that ambiguous statement. So what I mean by that is, I believe as Ms. Hall mentioned, that having a consistent response, or at least availability of resources on each campus for each student would be most beneficial for the entire system. And just by doing a quick comparison of the Student Wellness Center and the Crisis Emergency Services at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and the same counseling services at the University of Nevada, Reno, just looking at the two of them, they're not reflecting the same response, at least what I'm seeing, the same response as what this task force may be envisioning. And I really I would commend everybody on their efforts to and at least have these two reflect each other's goals and intentions. Thank you.
Elizabeth Gunn for the record. Regent Arascata, thank you so much for joining the task force today and for that your thoughts and insights on this important work and the important work at our institutions. Your valuable feedback certainly aligns with what our members were just discussing, and looking to find a baseline of essential services, necessary services, and continued gap analysis to make a recommendation to the board, to the institutions on how to level that out and when and where needed. So appreciate your thoughts and your presence today. Thank you for your interest in our work.
Truly my pleasure.
Luisa Bautista for the record. I think we could build engagement for these campus resources by first asking how often these care centers and counselor centers are hosting tabling events. Are they holding them weekly or monthly or semesterly? And where? Are they being held on busy areas on campus or in the lunchroom? Are they attending resource fairs? Are there professors talking to students about campus resources, since professors are mainly what's right in front of the students, so it'd be more efficient to share information in that way. And these efforts would make our outreach, I feel, more personal and approachable, since it's more face-to-face. And then when it comes to the counselor center, we could ask them questions like, how long is the average wait time for students?
Elizabeth Gunn for the record. Thank you for this, keeping students' real experiences as they're looking for services, engaging with our resources in the forefront of our discussion. Those are great ideas. And as we think about this matrix of services and gaps, that's certainly something we can keep in mind and include. Thank you. Elizabeth Gunn again for the record. Any final thoughts on agenda item 6? I appreciate the intentionality and the discussion today. It sounds like we've got some ideas about how to continue the work that are concrete and will progress our discussion. So thank you all. Moving on to agenda item 7, which is the election of officers of the task force. In accordance with Nevada Revised Statute 396141, the task force shall elect leadership each odd-numbered year. That's now. The elected individuals will serve from January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2027. Under this agenda item, we'll elect a chair and vice chair. Nominations and of other members and self-nominations are welcome. I'll begin with nominations for the chair position.
Dr. Gunn, this is Stephanie Coleman from Nevada State University. Are you allowed to run again?
Yes.
I nominate you for another term.
Thank you.
Jordan Fischette, I also would nominate or second that nomination.
So we have one nomination. Are there any other nominations for chair? Those can be self-nominations or nominating other members. I'm going to give that long instructional pause we learned to do in education to allow people to think. Okay, seeing no other nominations, we'll vote on the nomination. So a nomination for Elizabeth Gunn to serve a 2-year term as chair. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that vote carries. We'll move on to the vice chair role. For the vice chair role, we also, there's also a call for nominations from task force members to nominate other members. There's also self-nomination. So pausing again for nominations for vice chair. This is also a 2-year term. And all members present are eligible.
Let's see. Dr. Gunn, I'd like to nominate myself to serve as a vice chair if no one else is.
Thank you, Mr. Melendrez. So we have a nomination motion for a vice chair. Is there a second?
This is Daniel Archer. I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion for the vice chair? Okay. All those in favor of Mr. Melendrez?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you, Mr. Melendrez, for the self-nomination. I cannot express my deep gratitude. I look forward to working with you in this capacity and moving along the important work of the task force. With that, we will move to agenda item 8, which is new business. Items for consideration at future meetings may be suggested. Any discussion under new business is limited to description and clarification of the subject matter of the item, which may include the reasons for the request, and no substantive discussion may occur at this meeting on new business items in accordance with Nevada open meeting law. I have a few items, but I first want to turn to you all to ask if you have items you would like to put forth for consideration for new business.
Dr. Guns, Jose Melendrez, I just want to apologize, but I have to jump off this meeting for another meeting that I have to go to on behalf of the UNLV. So, but I look forward to serving with you in the next couple of years. So thank you everyone for your support on that.
Thank you. Ideas for new business for our next meeting, and that's in February.
Luisa Bautista for the record. I'd just like to see business item 6 in the next meeting, continued discussion for our renewal of gaps analysis work.
Elizabeth Gunn for the record. Thank you, Ms. Bautista. Absolutely, you captured my thought. That was my idea as well. I think it would be a good idea to continue our gaps analysis and perhaps think about engaging with our colleagues who have the expertise of these institutions in a way that goes beyond the presentations as was discussed. And also new business will continue the discussion of the survey, invite our colleagues back from the CREA to present as well. One final request, any new ideas for any new business items for February? All right, thank you all. And finally, the final agenda item is agenda item 8, turning back to public comment. Public comment will be taken during this agenda item. No action may be taken on matters raised here. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Persons making comment will be asked to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name. The chair may elect to allow additional public comment on a specific agenda item when that item is being considered. I do not see public comment in person in Las Vegas. Is there public comment in person in Reno?
There is no public comment in Reno.
Any callers for public comment?
Not at this time.
All right, with that, thank you all. Thanks again to our colleagues in the system offices for their support today. Thank you to the members for your time and important conversation today, and I look forward to continuing this work with you in the new year. It's 10:04, and we'll adjourn the meeting.